Hey there, I thought I'd share my experience and plans relating to going to the Philippines and retiring there. Going to be doing that in November or December. Most likely be in Cebu. And what I want to share is how I'm preparing. I'm 67 years old. I just retired, and so I've spent many years going back and forth between here and the Philippines. My wife is from the Philippines. She never became a citizen. She's got a multiple entry visa, so I'm going to retire there. And one of the things that have come to mind, very important to me, is the healthcare system in the Philippines. If you're in Davao, Cebu, Manila, you'll have pretty good healthcare. It's not necessarily up to American standards or European standards or much of the world, unless you're in St. Luke's in Manila or Chiang Mai, Cebu. But otherwise you're looking at substandard, not so much in the education of the physicians and nurses and doctors, and although many are not board certified, but many are. And many have been trained in Europe and the United States and different countries, Malaysia. So that's not so much as much of an issue as it is the money that they have to put into resources. So for example, where my wife is from, in Tagum Doctors Hospital, great hospital, good doctors, but they don't have an MRI machine. So when she had a recent issue with her leg or knee, I had to request an MRI, and then we have to go to Panabo, which is on the way to Davao, to get an MRI. So a lot of hospitals, they don't have the machines that you would typically have in the United States available, or even a CAT scan. So you're going to be, we had a relative that had a issue, had a breathing problem. It was out in the country, and all they did was give that person blood tests. That's all they had, the resources they had. They didn't even have things to check his oxygen level. And so he ended up, we told him, we need to get you to Davao. And instead of him going to Davao, he chose to go to a local witch doctor first. This is really in the remote areas, but that was the way he believed he should do. Fortunately, he turned out okay. But my sister, who's a retired RN, she couldn't believe they didn't have some way of checking to make sure he was check his lungs and oxygen levels. And that's really common if you go into the more outside lying areas of the Philippines. So that's one thing to consider. And the other thing that I look at is the insurance. So I looked into Cigna, I looked into Alliance, worldwide medical coverage. It's insanely expensive. And if you have a pre-existing condition that's any kind of serious condition, forget it, you're not going to be covered. So I looked into Pacific Cross, talked to Michael Onstead a few times, And we'll have that insurance. Pacific Cross has the peso plan. They have a dollar plan, more expensive, more coverage, but it's relatively affordable, especially the peso plan. And then I'm also going to get a permanent resident visa, and I will get Phil Health, so that I have that as well. I'm also going to get, I'm going to keep my Medicare, and the reason is I'm going to be able to go to Guam anytime I want, which is about an 8-hour flight if you go through Manila, and get checkups in Guam, or even Hawaii once a year. It's a lot more expensive, but to do checkups, a wellness exam, and then we'll have the high deductible G supplemental plan along with the Medicare, which is only like $64 a month. The Part B is, of course, $164 a month, something like that. But the problem is, if I don't take Part B and I go back to the United States one day to live, I'm charged 10% every year in penalties for not carrying Part B. It's crazy. It's also Part D. I'm penalized for if I don't carry that, which is prescription. So I'm penalized once a month, 1% a month, for every month that I don't carry Part D, and it goes up every month. So if you come back 5 or 10 years later, you don't carry Part B and Part D, your premiums would be much higher. So I can go to Guam. I carry Cigna. I'm going to carry Cigna Part D. Go to Guam. I checked out Guam and Hawaii to make sure Cigna has coverage over there, and they do, and better rates than Humana for those two areas. And Humana is more expensive, $12 a month for a Cigna Part D plan, and I'll have that. Now I did look into the Advantage plans, but the problem with those it's in writing. I read both in United and Humana. It's in writing that after 6 months, it's only the emergency care coverage is good for 6 months. If you're out of the country longer than 6 months, you can be disqualified because you're supposed to have a resident address in a certain area or a zone, and if they find out that you're living in the Philippines, you could be disqualified. And they said that to me. It was after a lot of research, but it's right in their writing. So that's why I went with a Medigap plan. And then the other thing I'll do is I'm going to carry, I'll have credit cards with me, and I'll have cash. And because in the Philippines, as many people know, that if you go to the hospital, you have to have money. And if you don't have money, you may not get in. Most likely won't get in. We have a relative that went in. He's a Filipino. He had a serious problem. Needed his appendix taken out. Serious pain. They took him in for a couple days, and then they said, you're going to have to go to some charity organizations and get $1,000 before we can do anything for you. $1,000 Filipino pesos, not 1,000 pesos. It was the equivalent of $1,000. So he ended up taking 2 months to get funds to go in and get his appendix taken out. And I've heard some real, sad stories. I had a friend who had open heart surgery. He had to get GoFundMe and get $35,000 for that open heart surgery. And then he ended up, looks like those are peaches. He ended up having another surgery needed, and he refused to go to GoFundMe again because people really criticized him for it. And if you can believe it. And so he took half a pill for his diabetes, half a pill of everything, because he barely had any money. Philippines, he had his Social Security, that's all. And so he ended up having dying early because he just couldn't afford the medications either. It was really a sad story. Had another friend who went to a public hospital, had open heart surgery, $12,000 cash. And so you definitely want to be there, with good coverage, protections. You just, especially the older you get, When I first went there, I was in my 50s, and it was like a lot of fun, moving around, traveling around, doing things. But now at this age, that healthcare, it's a biggie. And making sure that I'm covered for healthcare and that kind of thing. So I thought I'd share that with you. The other thing you want to watch for is make sure that you have some good, housekeepers, or as you get older, somebody who can help you in a home. You can find them, but you can lose them real quickly. They come and go. It's a challenge to keep them. So that's a different video, really. But I thought I'd share that with you. And this is part of Oak Harbor, Washington. This is the part of the Puget Sound. There's a Navy base here, Naval Station Whidbey, and it's a beautiful town, peaceful, safe. It's a good town. A couple more points that I thought I'd mention. I will leave a link to Michael Onstead for Pacific Cross. And just bear in mind that the first year is primarily for emergencies, like if you fall, if you, accidental type of insurance. There are some exceptions, but in the second year, you get coverage. If you have pre-existing conditions, you'll probably see an increase in the rate, according to Michael. But I will give you at the end of this video, I'll put his information up with his business card showing at the end of the video. And he's about the only one that I would recommend, because the Pacific Cross, because the hospitals are familiar with Pacific Cross. And so there are other measures you can take too. There's a health card that you can purchase in the Philippines, and it's like a health access card. You can put a balance on it. So there are different ways that you can fund your health care, but it's really important to do it. If you've not been to the Philippines and you're thinking about going there, these are things to really, no matter what the age, I would say health insurance or funds to cover, or both, probably one of the most important things you can do. There is travel insurance if you're just going to travel. You can get travel insurance that is for a year with Alliance, ALLINTZ, and that coverage is like $74 for a year, and it will give worldwide emergency coverage. It depends on the state you're in. Again, Washington State is only 6 months. You can have it. Other states are different in their their restrictions. So those are things to look at as well. All right.